everybody, and welcome to the Bear Necessities. I'm Bear, and today we are making a simple recipe. I know you'll appreciate it. We're making salsa. This is a recipe that I've kind of put together over time. There's some somewhat unorthodox ingredients, but I've picked these up, again, over time from tasting different salsas and being like, oh, I like that, and identifying different parts that I like. And mine, I like big, bold flavors, but I also like the sweetness of a tomato. I like that stringent acid from the lime, and I really love the soft kind of green of cilantro. I know a lot of people are against cilantro because it tastes like soap or whatever it is. I know that there's a genetic thing that does that. And you can forego cilantro in this. If you can handle parsley, it actually gives it a tiny bit of that same greenness, but you won't get that same cilantro flavor to it. So let's get started. I'm going to be using my food processor. You do need to break this down pretty well because at least I'm going to break it down pretty well. I like restaurant style salsa, which is a much smoother salsa. I don't like chunky salsa. That's not a thing for me. Usually I use diced tomatoes and I switch between the two. I also use tomato puree. I know it sounds strange, but it adds extra tomato flavor, and I use puree instead of sauce because it's more concentrated. And the puree has a little bit of the more natural sweetness of the tomato. And to get started, what you will need is one medium to large onion. You can use a sweet onion, that's usually what I use, or I got a red onion because they smelled amazing. And they have a little bit of a heat right now because of our growing season. And it almost has that garlicky smell to it because of the allium family. You'll need 4 medium to large tomatoes. If you want to cheat, and I suggest saving your time however you can, is get one of the 28-ounce cans, just a can of crushed tomatoes. That works. San Marzanos really work well, and if you're making this for something kind of special, San Marzanos are absolutely some of the best tomatoes in the world. These are simply tomatoes that were ripened on the vine. These are beef heart tomatoes, but they're very small. They're not fully grown yet because I didn't need huge ones, so I picked the smaller ones. And then it is 15 ounces of the tomato puree that I'm working with as well. Then, in here, I have quite a few of my spices, and I'm actually going to grab my list. I always have a recipe, if y'all ever wonder how I don't have it memorized. Not all of them. My chocolate chip recipe I do. So in here, let's read this together. I have 2 teaspoons of cumin, 2 teaspoons of cayenne, 1 full tablespoon of black pepper that I haven't gotten yet because I'm going to fresh grind that one in. 1 tablespoon of garlic powder. I went without the garlic powder. I actually had minced garlic in my fridge, so I went ahead and just did that. And then I also added a bulb of black garlic because I just randomly have a whole can of black garlic, and I figured why not use it? You don't have to. It's just a roasted garlic flavor. So use what you got and what you like. I really like garlic, so there's quite a bit in this. One solid tablespoon of smoked paprika, which sounds like a lot. It kind of is. 1 tablespoon of chili powder, and then 1 teaspoon of celery seed ground up. So that's all that's in here, as well as 2 additional teaspoons of cumin. I really like the flavor. It actually helps with salsa as it kind of gives it that smoky flavor that you really like. At least a lot of us do. And then in here I have 2 teaspoons of salt. Seems like a lot. It's usually a tablespoon, but I'm trying to cut back because these tomatoes actually have a bit of a salty bite to them. I tested just a little bit of one, and they're pretty good. And then also 2 teaspoons of sugar. It helps cut down some of the acidity, and it makes things smooth out a little bit. And of course I have my minced garlic in here. I also have 5 cloves of garlic on top of that. And then my little bulb of black garlic, which just comes out whole. You rip the skin off and there it is. Then I have 3 limes sliced already because I'm going to juice them. Usually I add the zest too, but I think today, because of some of the other flavors I'm working with, I don't want it to be too overly strong. I just need the acid. I have 2 Serranos that I've already fire roasted to get their skin off. And the way I fire roast is sometimes on my stove, I'll just pop things over the fire because I was lucky that when we found this house, it actually had a gas stove. If you don't have a gas stove, you can use your broiler. Just keep an eye on your peppers and things. Really, really watch them because they will burn really fast. But I usually just grab my kitchen torch and burn things. But I went ahead and fire roasted these. I also have some very special peppers that I'm super excited about because right now it's their peak and it's kind of a huge deal, at least here in Central Texas. These are from New Mexico, and these are hatch chilies. These are milder hatch chilies. They have hot ones. Unfortunately, some of the folks that I live with are shy about spicy foods, so I'm trying to control that as much as possible. The Serranos are already going to kind of just pop their little brains out, so I didn't want to overdo it with the hatch chilies, and I have fire roasted them. One of the cool things about the grocery stores here, because it's Texas, and it's Central Texas, so we already have a lot of different accesses than other places, is they will sell the pre-roasted peppers that have been freshly roasted just minutes ago. They sell those at the stores. As you walk in, you can smell it. It's amazing. Like I said, I've fire roasted those. Unlike the Serranos, though, I have not yet peeled the scorch off of this because I'm going to keep a little bit of it. I like that little bit of that burnt flavor that you get in it, that roasting flavor that you get. If you've ever had fire roasted salsa at all, you know what I'm talking about. It adds that smoky, you can taste the fire kind of thing. And of course, my cup of cilantro. Now, I believe that's everything. So let's get started. Into ye old food processor, I'm going to go ahead and get my tomatoes. I blanched these tomatoes. So what I did was I brought a pot of water, not a big pot, of water to boil. And I just popped my tomatoes right in there and let them bob around in the water for just a minute, not very long. You can just grab them and literally the peel will, their skin will just come right off of them. All right, next into this, I'm going to go ahead and add my red onion. I've already peeled it, so I cut the little top off and I peeled the paper from the outside. And I'm just going to chop this pretty roughly. It's one of the great things about salsa. It doesn't matter how you put the ingredients in. They're all going to be reduced down. So don't worry about your knife skills. Just don't, lose a finger. All right. And then on top of that, I'm going to go ahead and add my absolutely enormous amount of garlic that I am super excited about. I love garlic. And I'm going to go ahead and add our tomato puree. I'm going to go ahead and give this a quick little blitz just to kind of start it breaking down and making room for more ingredients. So let's just take 30 seconds and do this. That's better. All right, so to continue, I'm going to put my trash over here. That just makes life far easier. I'm going to go ahead and remove the entire lid there. I'm going to pour in my salt and sugar, and we can always adjust that after. So now I've added my cilantro and all my spices. And I'm going to go ahead and squeeze in my limes. If you have manual dexterity issues at all, you can, or just, don't want to deal with limes, go ahead and use store-bought lime juice. It's fine. You can usually find it in produce, or at least in my case, you can find it on the Hispanic foods aisle. I'm kind of lucky. I'm married into a Hispanic family. So my mother-in-law is always excited to get to teach me something else because her kids didn't want to learn. So I'm like, yes, teach me your ways. She's from Michoacan. So from a little town called Tinguindin. I've had to work so long to learn how to say that. But yeah, they're from Michoacan. My husband's father and mother, they're from the same general area. And she's taught me so many wonderful, beautiful foods. What I've done here is I'm seeding these peppers. And like I said, these are hatch chilies. I had looked at Anaheim's. Those are really good in here. It's actually what I normally get, but when I discovered it was Hatch Chili Festival, yeah, I can't say no to that. I usually lose my cotton picking mind in the store when it's Hatch Chili Festival. All right, last one. Just going to get it sliced open and get the seeds out of it as well. I don't like a lot of seeds in my salsa. It's not fun for me, and it's definitely not fun for my little tummy. I know I am just mistreating my cutting board. I'm not going to apologize. It knows what it did. All right, so now on to my very messy cutting board. I'm also going to grab the 2 Serranos. Like I said, this is a really simple, really easy, fast recipe. I mean, other than having to, if you want to, fire roast your peppers and blanch your tomato, you do not have to do any of those things, and it will still turn out really, really good. I just like it because those are the flavors I prefer in mine. And you'll learn what you really like in yours. You'll be able to tweak it. You'll be able to play with any of the seasonings, the spices, everything that goes in it. Your salt level, even the sugar level, like you'll just play with it until it comes out just right for you. And that's one of the great things about salsa is it's kind of a blank slate food. Okay, so we have everybody in the tub, so let's get this blended up. So I just blended this up a little bit more, got it to a nice texture, so it's a nice smooth salsa. It's not chunky, as you can see. It's just a nice smooth salsa. I added a little bit more salt to it though. It needed just a hint more salt, so I did about half a teaspoon, not very much at all, and just let it have a little bit more of a go. And it's pretty perfect. It's got a little bit of a heat, a little bit of a kick that I really appreciate. The acid is great. Everything's fantastic in it, and so I'm happy to just have salsa. Remember, it will get hotter as you let it sit, so keep it in the fridge, and it won't be, you know, astronomically hot, but the heat will fully develop after a couple of days. And this salsa does keep for a while. Not a terribly long time, and in my house it doesn't last very long at all, so that's fine with me. But it's tasty, so. Yum. Simple, delicious. And it's summer, at least in the northern hemisphere. So it's kind of perfect too. I hope you enjoy making this recipe as much as I do. I make this one pretty often, although it's been a while. And it never really goes wrong. Sometimes I change up the ingredients. It's not a super standard recipe. I just make it work. And I think that's the best part of it, is you can make it your own. You can make it your own signature salsa. And I hope you do. So until I see y'all again, bye.